I'm retired. Sis is retired. And it feels good. It feels liberating to say that. One of my homies was like, Tade, stop. Stop it. No, I'm serious. I'm very much retired from dating. I am not interested in being nobody's woman. I'm not interested in being nobody's spouse, nobody's girlfriend, nobody's lady friend, nobody's partner. No, no, no. I'm not interested in doing none of that. And the other message I received was play. Just play. And so that's what I've been on, playing and just really staying tapped into my joy. Now, what I am open to is two beautiful people exploring the planet together. Welcome to BLAXIT to Africa. I'm Tadre Delora Monye, a California native living my best life in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you so much for coming along for the ride. I hope that you are informed, entertained, and inspired to BLAXIT to Africa. Oh, y'all. I got a doozy for y'all today. I have a doozy for y'all today, and I really hope to give you the tea without depressing you. Ooh, I have been like carrying this around with me all week. How am I going to present this information? You know, Auntie got her data, her stats together, but also, I want to give you a little personal insight, maybe a few little anecdotes. We'll see. We'll see. So, this is dating over 40 for heterosexual women in Africa. Now, fellas, don't go. Okay, if you clicked, if you're watching, I want you to continue to watch to the end because I'm really curious to see if what I share will mirror your experiences. I'm curious to find out what your dating experiences are like in Africa as men of the diaspora who are now living in Africa. And I also want my millennials and my Gen Zs, women in particular, to hang on. Stay tuned to the end because I'm also curious to find out if my experiences mirror your experiences. And so when I talk to my millennial and my Gen Z girlfriends, their experiences are not similar to mine. However, the outcome is the same. And at the end of the day, it's just seeming like folks are not enjoying the dating experience regardless of age, nationality, ethnicity, sexual orientation, etc. But yeah, we're going to get into it. And I'm going to give you the tea, but today I don't have tea. I'm actually sipping on a little beetroot, moringa, baobab, passion fruit, ginger, and sugarcane juice here, a little blend up here. And, to keep Auntie on task, I got my notes. And to be perfectly honest, it's a lot to cover. I got like 6 pages of notes. So we're not going to get through this in 30 minutes. There will be a part 1 and a part 2. Okay. So for those of you who don't know, you're new to this podcast, I think I should share a little bit about myself before I go into the stats and all that good stuff. I am 51 years old. I am postmenopausal, and how that has manifested for me is in terms of like wanting to date, my sexuality. I'm at this point what most would label demisexual. However, I am sex favorable. I am a demisexual who is sex favorable if we want to put a label on me. And that just basically means that I'm not going to have no love at first sight situation. My body no longer like just fires off a bunch of physical sensations when I see someone that I like. It takes a while. I'm a slow build. It takes a while for me to become sexually attracted, physically attracted to a man. I need intimacy. I need to get to know him. Time must be spent. And this wasn't always the case. Like when I was much younger, I've had some love at first sight experiences because my body was telling me, you need to reproduce. We want to reproduce. My body at this point is just like, you had your time in the sun, honey. You had your time in the sun. Now you don't need all of that. So you could just, just chill, just vibe out. Now, what I will say is that like some people can view that in a negative light. I don't. I'm actually happy that I'm not being led around the planet by my punani. Do you understand what I'm saying? I got my sense back. Okay. I had sense before I hit puberty. Once I hit puberty, and then decades after, I just lost all sense when it came to men. Whew. So now I got my sense back. I can think. I can see something beautiful from across the room, across the lot, and admire, notice, and go back to my conversation. You feel me? You feel me? So this is a really great place to be, and I implore you to embrace it. Now, for those of you who are just learning about menopause and andropause, which is the male version, let me just break it down for you real quick. It's just the opposite of puberty. You hit puberty, your body's saying, we're going to reproduce, we got to develop, and those hormones are there for a reason. And then you reach a certain age, if you're fortunate, and your body says, all right, you're done. But ladies, don't be tricked. Y'all know y'all can still get pregnant. Okay, don't be... Still be vigilant. Yeah, so that's basically the gist of menopause, andropause. And that's what I wanted to say. I am not the only one in my social circle who's experiencing this type of symptom. However, some women that I've spoken to are like, nah, sis, I have filthy thoughts. I want it all the time. I'm like, yo, do you? That might be their body's, final like push to reproduce. And I have rejected, all of the pushes. So now my body's just like, yeah, we good on you. The other thing I should say is that I'm divorced. I'm a divorcee. And I got married at 25, divorced at 36. I am child free. So I've always been like indifferent to children in terms of birthing my own children. Well, I never like wanted a child to come from betwixt my thighs. That just did not seem like an enjoyable experience for me. However, I have thought about adopting, but I never did that. I never followed through with that. And the husband, the man that I was married to, he didn't want kids. And to my knowledge to this day, he still doesn't have kids. So it worked out. The most I've ever felt about having my own children was ambivalence. But usually it was like an indifference, and it was also a very conscious choice. What else can I say about me about the dating situation? I'm retired. Sis is retired. And it feels good. It feels liberating to say that. One of my homies was like, Tadri, stop. Stop it. No, I'm serious. I'm very much retired from dating. I am not interested in being nobody's woman. I'm not interested in being nobody's spouse, nobody's girlfriend, nobody's lady friend, nobody's partner. No. I'm not interested in doing none of that. Where does that come from? It could be trauma informed. It could be hormonal. The messages that I've received spiritually is that I'm done. There's no more lessons for me to learn through men. And our relationships are our biggest teachers. And that's the lesson that I've received. And, this could be karmic as well. This doesn't mean I'm done with human lessons. It just means that I don't have anything else to learn through through these romantic relationships. And the other message I received was play. Just play. And so that's what I've been on, playing and just really staying tapped into my joy. Now, what I am open to is two beautiful people exploring the planet together. Wonderful experiences. However, the labor that is required to sustain an intimate romantic partnership, those of you who have given all of yourselves to relationships, you already know. You already know. So I'm not interested in that anymore. I'm interested in fun and experiences. That don't mean that, like, me personally, because my girlfriends will say different for themselves. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna be out in the streets like, hey, you can get it, you can get it. No, mm-mm, mm-mm. That's not for me. Um, but yeah, I hope I gave you enough information just to let you know where I'm coming from. So, some people might say, all right, so what are your deal breakers, sis? What inspires you? What doesn't inspire you, since you are open to these experiences? Let me just talk about my personal deal breakers, okay? Sexual health is one of them. You might be saying, but sis, you're not even out there like that. Yes, I'm still interested in a man's sexual health, because if we're going to be spending time, I'm going to be getting to know you. At a certain point, I want to be sexually expressive. I am a sexual being, after all. And so if we're going to go there, I want to know that you can go there with me. Mm? And much of what I've experienced dating men who are roundabouts my age, plus or minus, is that the sexual health is not in order. So this is not to shame, because, like I said, you live long enough, you're going to experience changes. And then it's up to you to suss that out, do your research, find a professional that can help you in that area. Trust and believe. I've also noticed some changes. And I said, oh no, I cannot go out like this. I still got some living left to do. What can we do about this? And that led me to podcasts and books and research and you name it. Okay. Another deal breaker for me is married and partnered men. I'm not into it. Stay over there. Fitness. I am a very fit woman. I'm not so much like a gym rat or obsessed with my body. However, I realize that if I'm going to be on this planet for another 50 years, my lifestyle needs to be set up for me to win. You feel me? So I'm very fit. I'm very active, and I need my partner. Am I? Didn't I say I wasn't interested in that? Hello, deprogram. Decolonizing the mind in regards to partnership is something that I'm still unpacking. But I need whoever I'm going to be rolling with, I need him to be fit as well. In the past, I have not been concerned with that. I was more so concerned with the energy, the person in front of me. And consequently, I spent a lot of time by myself while I was in partnership, because that man wasn't able to keep up. He wasn't able to skate with me on the boardwalk. He wasn't able to go hiking with me. All we could do together was really eat and watch TV. Good diet, whatever he consumes, right? So whether it's media, whether it's food, whether it's energy from other people, the environment that he's in, that needs to be clean, because you can't be bleeding all over me. And in regards to sexual health and having a clean diet, that is of utmost importance. The way some of our diets are set up, it's like there's no way. No way. And how can you, I don't know, like, how can you experience the fullness of sexuality and sexual expression with a partner who ain't right? So just like women should be eating pineapples and wonderful nutrition, men need to be doing the same. And I'll just leave that there. All right, so I want to jump into some stats right off the bat, okay? I want to jump into some marital age rates, just so that you can set your expectations. Marital age rates in the UK, United States, and in these countries where Black expats tend to find themselves. So the average marital age rate for men in the UK is 38. It's 36 for women. In the United States, it's 32 years old for men and 30 years for women. Now, when we get down to South Africa, we've got 31 to 32 for men, 28 to 30 for women. Ghana, it's 31 for men, 28 for women. Kenya, which is where I am, it is 26 for men and 21 for women. Tanzania, it is 25 for men and 20 for women. Rwanda, people love Kigali. It's so clean, it's so organized. Okay, Rwanda, the average marital age rate is 25 to 27, and for women, it's 21 to 22. Uganda has the lowest marital age rate. All right, men marry around 23 to 24, and women 19 to 20. Now, know that these are country age ranges. All right. So obviously the age ranges are the marital age rate in cities is going to be higher. I did not pull those numbers for the capital cities because I didn't know where you would end up. Some of y'all don't want to be in the city. Some of y'all want to be at the coast. Some of y'all want to purchase your own farm, right? And live in rural areas. Some of y'all want to be by the mountains, right? So I had to get the statistics for the whole country. I didn't want to do you a disservice by just pulling the numbers for the major cities, okay? So what is this telling you, ladies who are 40 and over? This is telling you that when you go to these African countries, all right, these men, they already married. The men in your age range that would be considered age appropriate, they already married, they've been married. Many of them bored and trying to get out their marriages or pretend they don't exist. But nonetheless, they got papers, okay? They got papers on them. Now, let's talk about these divorce rates, all right? Everybody around the world know that U.S. divorce rates are quite high, all right? 45 to 50% of American marriages end in divorce. In divorce. In the UK, it's 40%. All right. In Ghana, now we over here in Ghana, because y'all love Accra. Should you find yourself in Ghana and want to partner up or link up, you want a little sneaky link, 2 to 3%. 2 to 3%. So everybody in your age range, okay, they married and they not likely to get a divorce. Kenya, 1 to 3%. Tanzania and Rwanda, ChatGPT, which is where I got these numbers from, which pulled its numbers from Our World Data and the Southwest Journal. Tanzania and Rwanda, ChatGPT could not find reliable numbers. But if the divorce rates in Kenya are between 1 to 3% nationally in Kenya, I would imagine that in Rwanda and Uganda, it's even less. I'm sorry, Rwanda and Tanzania, it's even less. Uganda, 1 to 2%. Now, what I will say about that is there's lots of expats in Rwanda and Kenya and Ghana who are returning home. They were born and raised in Africa. They've spent a significant amount of time in the so-called global north. They tired. They want to come back, invest, and reconnect. And these guys are usually unmarried. They're divorced. Their children are grown, near grown. So there you go. And then also I would say that in the major cities, in the capital cities, you will find guys who are, let's say, mid-30s who have never been married, but they may have a few young children. Okay? Just putting that out there. Let's talk about the dating apps, sis. Sips juice. Let's get into these apps. So I was on apps in the States, not heavy, but I would pop in and pop out. I didn't really find them to be very fruitful, but it was what it was. And I've been on the apps in Africa as well. Um, I met some people on the apps, and again, I didn't find them to be fruitful. I don't know if the type of guy that I'm interested in is really on the apps like that. I don't know. I don't know. Um, in Uganda, I let a very misguided individual talk me into getting on Tinder. She was just like, no, 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 it's not like it is in the States. It's not a hookup a situation like it is in the States. No, in Uganda, it's actually really good. You can meet a good. Um, that's not what I experienced. My experience on the apps in Kampala, Uganda, is that there are indeed a lot of people on there just looking for a hookup and looking for expats in particular, even more particular, looking for white women. You hear what I'm saying? Yeah. Mm. So I was on Tinder in Kampala, and the interesting thing about being on the apps there is that people didn't have their real photos. So the pool of people that would even consider being on an app in Kampala is quite small. Uganda is a small country anyway. So I would imagine there's a lot of overlap. And anyway, I would click on, swipe, is it swipe left or swipe right? Whatever. I would swipe yes. And the guy would be like, hey, this is actually not my photo. Let me send you a photo of me. And that photo, like, he's a good looking guy, but that's not who I swiped yes on. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, I had my mouth ready for tacos and you gave me pad thai. And so that wouldn't work. And the other thing was, I found that these guys that were on these apps, like, they could never have a conversation in their house. It was always like, oh, I'm just out for a smoke, or I'm just out taking a stroll. Sir, you cannot have a conversation in your own house. You got a wife or you live with somebody who thinks she your wife. Stop. Stop. Okay. In Kenya, I got on Bumble, and I did meet a couple of guys on Bumble. Um, the karmic agreement is done. That's what I can say. However, it did not go as planned. One brother was just really doing the most and not honest, but feeding me like a narrative of I want a partner and I think you are it. The other brother, we matched on Bumble, and he never responded. Turns out he was recently divorced. I met him at a social gathering because we're actually a part of a couple of different social groups. And when I saw him in person, I was like, yeah, I remember your picture. We matched on Bumble. Next time I went on Bumble, we were unmatched. Years later, we had a conversation. We actually got together years later. Um, and I had a conversation with him about that. I was like, yo, what was that about? He was just like, well, you were like a little, like, I guess I was too much for him. I had a little too much energy for him. He wasn't on the market for that. That situation ended badly for me. Ultimately, he was like, out the gate, he was like, I want a relationship without expectations. And, I consulted with my dad because I was like, Daddy, I don't understand why my male friends always have somebody. And yet me, I've been over here, for years, just like single. And my dad, he usually gives me real talk. He was like, well, you want to know why? Let me tell you why. Well, fuck anything. You waiting on the strongest lion. We'll fuck anything. It's like, oh, okay. Okay, so my dad gave me some advice on that situation, which was basically like, you don't know when this lion that you're waiting for is gonna come along. You have him over here. Don't get too close. So when your lion steps up, you can drop him and get with the one that you really want. And he told me, he was like, it pains me to say this to you as your dad, but per usual, he gonna keep it real, sometimes too real. So I said, yeah, if I'm going to be out there, I want to be out there with somebody who, does not have any of my deal breakers. Diet is on point, spirituality is on point, fitness is on point. You know what I'm saying? Unmarried, all of that I said. So I ventured out there. I was ready for the relationship. What did he say? Relationship without expectations. 2 months go by. He's traveled. I'm traveled. Now we're both back in the same city. I get a phone call. Hey, wanted to let you know it's been nice, but I met someone. That particular situation really sent me in a tailspin because I'm like, I thought you wanted a relationship without expectations. Nonetheless, that situation sent me searching for answers, which led me to my next relationship lesson. Oh boy. At the end of the day, we've all been there, right? Where we have not been looking for something, but we found something. We've all been there where, you were chosen or you were not chosen. We've been on both sides of the fence is what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, it's no hard feelings. It was a lesson learned, but it was a doozy. I was talking about the apps, wasn't I? So I love y'all. I really do. But I did not go on Senior Match to see if there was any action there. I did not go on Our Time to see if there was any action there. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Senior Match and Our Time are dating apps specifically for the middle age and up. And I know I know my Africans watching this like, say what? What? Yes, these exist. In fact, I don't think my dad would mind if I shared this, but he met his current partner on Our Time, I think so, or was it Senior Match? One of them, and they thriving. I love this part of my dad's life. Like it's time. It's been time for him. I love that he's traveling. He's enjoying. He has a partner to do that with, and it was on Senior Match. So I don't know if there's action on Senior Match or Our Time in Africa. Like I said, I love y'all, but not that much to create an account and really see what's out there. So you can hop on there and you can see what it do. Bumble is alive and thriving in Africa. Tinder, Hinge, you know what I'm saying? I share with you a little anecdotes. So, but just test it out and see how you like it. I didn't particularly enjoy the interactions. A lot of, hey, how are you? There was one like, with the guys that's looking for the sugar mamas. I'm going to get to that. The guys that's looking for the sugar mamas, they on there, in the gym, the muscles, And one guy asked me, he said, have you ever dated a guy my age? I said, oh, Lord, I'm not interested in being nobody's sugar mama. So I had to unmatch that situation. I've even had a speed dating situation in Nairobi. In short, lots of beautiful, gorgeous, funny, smart, put together women and 3 men. You heard me? 3 men. 3 men showed up and 2 of them were gay. Why were the gay men there? I guess they wanted to appease their families. That pressure to get married and have children is extremely high here. Extremely high. So yeah, there were the speed dating event occurred because there were some Nigerian millennials in Kenya that had created an app that was for us, by us. And, to market the event, they hosted speed dating. It was a disaster. Like, I met a lot of cool women. Like, we sat back, we drank, you know what I'm saying? We talked, we laughed about the situation, but I was very thankful that I didn't get all dolled up for that. All right. Moving on. African patriarchy. let's keep it real. Patriarchy exists everywhere, just like anti-blackness exists everywhere to varying degrees. It's nuanced. What I've learned about patriarchy in the US is that it's deceptive. At least for me, as a younger woman, it was very deceptive. I did not get on the pro-woman movement until much later in life because to me, it seemed like I could do whatever I wanted to do, right? I was an athlete at a D1 school. I could pretty much wear whatever I wanted to wear. I went to school in Southern California, so we wore short shorts. We wore halter tops to school, you know? Um, yeah. So, but what I learned as I began to be more perceptive is that it's women that are deemed to be more attractive, that have more freedoms, that are treated better in the US. And I came to learn that as long as you keep men titillated, you're good. It's women who have less conventional phenotypes that really can suffer the most in the US. Now, African patriarchy, it manifests differently. And I still haven't unpacked it all the way. But one thing that you should know is that if you choose to date African men, sometimes you will be engaging with men who are very accustomed to operating within polygamous settings, okay? So their fathers might have been in plural marriages. Their grandfathers may have had plural marriages. And even if you are engaging with someone who is Christian, who comes from a Christian family, if not official marriages, their fathers and grandfathers may have had a number of mistresses. And that experience for him will shape how he engages with you. Just putting that out there. I literally just had a run-in yesterday with a man at the supermarket over some patriarchy bullshit. All I was trying to do was buy my groceries. However, he felt that he was more valuable because he has a lingam. And all his life, let me tell you something, this prioritizing of the boy child in Africa is real. From the womb, the messages are, you are more important, you are more valuable, you can take up more space. My experience in Uganda, I love y'all, but oh my God. My experiences in Uganda with the internalized patriarchy from men and women was intense. Men in Uganda, generally speaking, take up a lot of space, and you feel it. Have you ever sat on a plane and you had the unfortunate middle seat and you were flanked by two men who had to sit with their legs wide open? Meanwhile, you like this. And you got to, excuse me, let them know that you also paid for a seat on the plane and you are also deserving of space. That was my experience day to day in Uganda. I won't get into what happened at the supermarket. All I will say is that the man felt very entitled to take up space. And when I asked him, like, sir, can you wait until I'm done with my transaction? He goes around me and puts his things down in front of me and walks away to go get more things. He wasn't even ready to check out yet, but I was. You see what I'm saying? So if this type of thing can happen at a supermarket, imagine how it plays out in romantic relationships. I remember being in Western Uganda for a wedding, and my things are on the conveyor belt. The cashier is getting ready to ring me up. A man in a suit pulls up, puts his stuff right down in front, and she proceeds to ring him up. And I'm confused. I'm like, Is he somebody prominent? I asked her, I'm just like, who is that? She's like, I don't know. I said, you don't know him? She don't know. I'm like, so why did you serve him before me? I don't, I'm sorry. It's the internalization of patriarchy. Again, that happened at a supermarket. Let's talk about the male versus female experiences, man versus women experiences in Africa as it relates to dating, gendered. The gendered experiences, particularly domestically, are much more intense in Africa than they are in the U.S. Let's not dismiss that they exist in the U.S. Like the imbalanced division of labor in American households, in the UK, global north, whatever you want to call it, still exists. What do they call it? Weaponized incompetence still exists. However, the expectation that you will be very domesticated is much higher here. All right. Now, allowances are made for women who are not African born. Allowances are made, right? It's very interesting for me to watch and see how men who, if they were to be with women of their own ethnic group, will just be like very demanding and expecting in regards to the societal expectations. However, when these same men get with non-African women, the expectations are much lower. Rightfully so, but how these men adjust in these relationships is very interesting, because when they're with African women, it's like, I must have, this must be done. But then when they're with non-African women, it's like, oh, it's all right, I'll do it, I'll pick up the slack. That's just been interesting for me to observe. All right. However, the expectations for a Black versus a white expat, generally speaking, are very different. Non-Black women expats, very low expectations in terms of domestic responsibilities, gendered responsibilities. Now, if you are an expat of African descent, it's like the family knows you're not from here, but you still us. So the expectations are higher. Somebody told me that when they met their future in-laws, the future in-laws just had them outside with the women, just rolling chapatis, just rolling chapatis all day. She was talking about how her back was hurting and all of that. And so you may have to negotiate that with the in-laws. You get? Because in many cultures throughout the world, not just Africa, the new wife is expected to serve the in-laws. So one of my girlfriends who is African American went to school in Kenya, which is where she met her Ugandan husband. I won't tell you the state. I won't try to give all her business. But she was telling me how when it was time to meet her in-laws, which is a formal ceremony, she let her man know, I will not be kneeling. In her husband's culture, it is expected for women and children to kneel before men in greetings. And if I'm not mistaken, like women also kneel before older women just to show respect. It's part of the culture. And she let her husband know, like, I'm not kneeling when I meet your family. The only way I'm gonna kneel is if you kneel. And I'm trying to figure out how this went. I think at the end of the day, neither one of them knelt. And, the expectations were just set from jump. Now the family knows who is marrying into the family. Then there's financial expectations. So let's just talk about it now. Because of the average marital age rates, you more likely will find yourself with younger men, much younger men. And it took me a minute to embrace that. Some of y'all might have always been there. Like, yes, it's like, I prefer younger men. It took me a while to embrace that, okay? And I'm there. Like, I'm cool with it. You know what I'm saying? However, what I see to be the difference in processing, in social processing, is that when you are a male, a male expat, and you're coming to Africa and you're dating younger women, because of social programming, you're socialized to protect and provide. So, paying for your younger partner's lifestyle is not a big deal for you. And also the dollar and the pound goes further, right? The euro goes further in Africa. As women, I don't know about you, but I know me, I was not socialized that way. So to be put in a position to where I am paying for my male partner's lifestyle, oh no, I can't do it. I can't do it. And then because it's such a communal environment, when your partner's family has an emergency, he's expected to pull up in a big way, especially if he is the oldest son. He's expected to come through. And even regardless of that, his partner is a rich Mzungu. Why wouldn't they ask him? So now you're put in a position where you're not only supporting this man who is younger, who has less of a earning capacity, you're also expected to provide for that family. I'm just saying. Now, my dad came here. He saw a lot of the older brothers, but not just brothers, like men, a lot of the older men with younger women, and he peeped that and he was like, oh yeah, I'm embarrassed for that man, because where we come from, it's unacceptable. Here they out. Since they out at the restaurants, they out at the social events, there's no shame. They 70, they might be in their early 80s, they're middle-aged, and they got young babies. They have started new lives. They have started a whole new lives. They got the family back in their passport country. Maybe the kids is grown, maybe they ain't. And they got the families here. So my dad was like, it's like shooting ducks here. It's easy. Poverty makes it easy, okay? However, when I look at my bros who are here, who have been searching for something real, have been open to something real, a real connection, something beyond casual sex, that has been a challenge for them. That has been a challenge. And so, you may find yourself in situations where a brother's looking for a sugar daddy, and it will be all love. They will be everything you want them to be. I had a brother tell me, he said, you want to get married? I'll be your husband. It will be all love. It will be all good until the money stops flowing. Baby, you hit a rough patch. You need to pivot. The money starts to trickle a little bit. You may find that your male partner is already looking for brighter horizons. Okay? All right. Where are we? Oh, I think we're already at an hour. I want to talk about one more thing. I want to do one more thing before I wrap this up and do a part 2. I want to talk about the African millionaires. All right? Because when I first told my girls in the States that I was moving to Africa, they were so excited. They was like, oh, girl, you finna find your African prince. Oh, you finna find your Arabian sheep, girl. You finna, listen. They were so psyched. And I did meet an African prince. He was married. Hence these stats. Let me just give you these stats, okay? Oh, goodness. There are wealthy men here. Let me just say that. There are wealthy men here. I don't want to paint this picture like everybody is just broke and dusty. Like, that's not the case at all. They just married, sis. I gave you the average marital age rates for specific African countries. They married, sis. Oh my gosh. I'm just thinking about how in the States, I was invited on a Millionaire cruise. My whole girl called me up. She was like, oh, there's this Millionaire cruise. It's going to be a cruise with nothing but millionaires on it. We should go. This was in the States, y'all. I was like, oh no, that sounds like a setup. A bunch of guys who are millionaires or pretending to be millionaires, and thirsty women on a boat you can't get off. Like, that's, I didn't go. My friend went. She said it was just a disaster. To be expected. So, yeah. Imagine if it's like that in the States. How has your experience been like meeting millionaires in the States? And then when you come to Africa. But, like I said, let's get into it. I want to just give you the stats on African millionaires for specific countries. So I asked ChatGPT, I said, all right, give me the countries in Africa that have the most millionaires, the top 5 countries in Africa that have the most millionaires. Number one, coming in at number one, is South Africa with 37,400 millionaires. That's in USD dollars and dineros, okay? With 102 centimillionaires and 5 billionaires, okay? This makes South Africa the leader in high net worth individuals. So if that's your bag, go and get your bag in South Africa, okay? Oh, let me not forget, it said the most high net worth individuals are concentrated in Joburg and Cape Town. All right. Egypt coming in at number 2, 15,600 millionaires with 52 centimillionaires and 7 billionaires. Cairo seems to be the hub for that type of wealth. This is a predominantly Muslim country. More than likely, sis, he's married with multiple wives. All right? Nigeria. Nigerians, my Niger. Y'all love the champion is here. Y'all love that, okay? Nigeria coming in at number 3 with 8,200 millionaires, 23 centimillionaires, and 3 billionaires. Lagos is the concentration for that wealth. Coming in at number 4 is Kenya, where I am, okay? Home to 7,200 millionaires, with Nairobi being a significant contributor to this wealth. I'm currently in Nairobi. I don't think I've met any male millionaires to my knowledge, okay? Morocco coming in at number 5 with 6,800 millionaires, okay? With them being concentrated in Casablanca and Marrakesh. All right? This is getting long, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to get into all of this by the time I closed out. So I'm going to tell you what we will be talking about in part 2, which is the average male income in these, in particular, African nations. Okay. We'll be talking about the dynamics of dating younger men in Africa. We'll be talking about the Peter Pan syndrome with older men in Africa. The older men, young women phenomenon. I think we may touch on that. We'll be talking about the European male factor, dating them in Africa, dating within expat groups in Africa. Passport bros. We might touch on them a little bit. It's going to be interesting. Stick around. And again, for what I have given you so far, I would love to have men who are 40 and over dating in Africa, whether you are an expat or you are African born. I would love to just hear, like, okay, what is it like for you here? Do you see any commonalities in what I've stated? I would also like to hear from my sisters who are millennials and Gen Z, dating in Africa. Like, what has it been like for y'all? Are y'all feeling what I'm feeling, or is it completely different for you? All right. Thank you for joining me on this episode of BLAXIT to Africa. If you like what you heard, please share, subscribe, and leave a comment. May you thrive. May you be inspired. May you move with love and intention. Until next time.